Welcome to Living Free in Tennessee, where we talk about building the life you choose on your terms. Today is Friday, March 10th, 2023, and this is episode 710 of Living Free in Tennessee, and it's a Homestead Happenings Day. So I'm going to talk to you today about what's all happening on the Holler Homestead. A lot of it doesn't have to do with growing food right now because we ripped into my kitchen, but today we're going to talk about celebrating new life on the homestead. It's that time of year. Life is springing forth, and it's been busy all winter long getting ready to do this. And now it is here, which is kind of nice. I'm going to talk about seedlings, managing the overwhelm and depression. Yeah, that's right. You heard me right. Depression happens on the homestead in spring. Sometimes for some people, we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Before we jump into that, though, I wanted to talk to you about our featured event of today, and that is the Exit and Build Land Summit in Bastrop, Texas. It is in May. So if you have been interested in figuring out how to exit the cities and find your way out to the land, John Bush from the Live Free Academy has a great event. It's called the Exit and Build Land Summit. I'm going to throw a link in the show notes. He will know I sent that link there because we have a tracking thing there. So use that link if you can. And consider coming out. They're great speakers. I believe Paul Wheaton's coming back. I'll be speaking. Jack Spirko will be speaking. And the cool thing about this is they really balance well, like tours of other homesteads in the area and on like hands-on training on how to find and join intentional communities if that's the route you want to go, or how to get land when maybe you don't have money. John Bush has a lot of really cool things to say about how making the decision to get land led to him being able to get land. He has got a pretty good story about that. He talks about the sacrifices he made for years to be able to save the money to buy the land that he has now. So I really think it is perfect for especially if you're in Texas, to check out, and you'll meet other people who are interested in the same things. Last time I was there, I asked like how many people already have exited and how many haven't. It was about 50-50, which is very helpful because you can learn from other people's mistakes. Also, I want to thank today's sponsor of the day, and that is the Agorist Tax Advice. That's agoristaxadvice.com. Matt Searsley came up with this quirky idea to set up Agorist Tax Advice. Why? Because he knows that you don't want to give Uncle Sam more of your hard-earned dollars. He knows that if you think in advance how your money flows and structure your businesses and your work and all of that efficiently, you can find legal ways to write off expenses that you may not be able to write off right now the way you're tracking them. Matt Searsley of Agorist Tax Advice is great at helping people make sense of options, understand how to stay on top of tracking write-offs, and see new ways of organizing finances so that you keep more of your dollars that you earn in your pockets. He has a broad knowledge of business, finance, real estate, and rentals, end-of-life planning, and more, which means he can help you find those legal tax loopholes. And those things are changing a little bit all the time, guys. Head over to agoristaxadvice.com/LFTN to sign up for a free consultation with Matthew Searsley. And with that, we're going to head straight into the show for my live stream, people. I just dove right in this morning because I thought it'd be kind of fun. And I see you have all joined. So hi, Margot, Letty, Faith, Martinson family, News That Doesn't Suck, Autumn. I see that you've all commented. If you have a question that's a real question, News That Doesn't Suck, what you need to do is put it in all caps. And I will start it for answering after the show when we go into our Q&A section. If I see your question and it seems to relate to what I'm doing, I may fit it into today's topic. So it's all about you and putting your questions in so that these eyes can see them. Guys who are listening to the show, if you ever want to get a question in and you're on the audio only, just send me an email, Nicole@livingfreeintennessee.com, or head over to livingfreeintennessee.com, click on contact. Those emails come straight to me, and I've gotten really good at seeing emails lately. So there you go. Our first segment of today's show is all about the forage that we're finding on the homestead. And all winter long, we were finding things underground or tree bark, right? And now things are up And the first thing is that dandelions are just like blooming all over the place. We're going to be down to 24 next week. I got dandelion blooms. They're great in teas, and I like to collect them now, dry them, and have them for winter. And then at this time of year, any dandelions I haven't made tea out of, they go bloop into the compost, and I replenish the supply. Comfrey is up and big enough to use. The leaves are about 3 inches long here, and it's not a bad time to transplant your comfrey too. You can see where it is. You can decide if you want to separate the root rhizomes and put it around. If you do that, you may need to support it with a little bit of water this first year. It's very hard to kill comfrey, but the way to kill comfrey is don't give it water for long enough, and eventually it will die. So that's happening. I think I have one comfrey plant I'll be transplanting when we move the aquaponics system out from under Taj Mahal to the side hill, because I had a plant in my ebb and flow bed. Why? Because if it's like the canary in the coal mine, right? It will show me nutrient deficiencies by its leaves. And so I put it in there. And what happened is I developed an amazing root system from this thing, and it clogged everything. So I need to pull that out, and I'll still get comfrey back in this bed when I do that. I need to pull it out and kind of do a reset on that bed. We had such cold weather this winter that even my ebb and flow bed, the only thing that survived besides the comfrey was that I had taken some cuttings from the sage plant that's in my wicking bed, which is in soil, to root. And I had 2 or 3 of them there. One of those is coming back right now. And the reason I have those is my dog Sage, who died almost 2 years ago, so a year and a half ago, has a grave. And she's got a lot of plants planted on her grave. And I had a sage plant that I started there in August, which was the month that she died. And it did okay, but it just didn't make it through last spring. And so I started rooting some sage to transplant, because I think it makes sense for sage to have sage on her grave. And that one plant is a survivor. So I think I'll be potting that up after the next freeze and getting it acclimated to growing in soil rather than water. And then I will take it and put it into her grave. And that's kind of in the food forest. We had to actually organize the food forest so we didn't accidentally dig up the dog. And so she had a big impact on where we planted things. And yeah, somebody says here that plant is going to grow back. Yeah, my comfort. That's okay. I'm fine with that. And the funny thing is, I'm actually taking apart the whole bed and reusing the lava rock in a newly crafted bed. And I bet you I will still get comfrey coming back in that. That's how like insistent comfrey is. It's like a honey badger. Anyway. Blackberries and raspberries have leaves, and right now is a great time to collect those leaves and dry them for tea. They're very flavorful addition to your tea. It's not like a strong berry flavor. It's like a subtle addition, but I really like those in my tea. And the next thing is that the wild mustard is starting to bloom in some places. Wild mustard grows all over the place. Mustard greens like go to seed, and then they distribute themselves, and we have what we call wild mustard, which is the yellow flower. Usually I'm finding them a little later in the year, but I think we've just had some early warm days this year. And so the wild mustard is coming out. People are starting to find morels. I'm walking down to my morel patch right after this live stream. That's right. Gonna see if they're up. It kind of looked like they might have been, but it's really hard to see unless you're down there in it. So I'm going to put on my good boots and head over there. I meant to do it yesterday, and then yesterday got a little bit busy. I can't remember why, but it got busy and I didn't make it. So I think it's just because I have a lot of deadlines this week, and I just got really obsessed with my deadlines. So dead nettle is past its prime. Stinging nettle is up. So all of those things are coming off our land here in Tennessee. If you live to the north of me, you're a little bit behind. If you live to the south of me, you're like, yeah, that's old news, Nicole. Next segment is livestock. This is where we talk about the animals that are on our property. And my rabbits have ear mites again, which they get sort of on a rotation. And the way I can tell is their ears get scabby. So I just take vegetable oil or olive oil and put it in a bottle with a dropper that used to have essential oils in it. And the the drops go in the ears once a day for a week, and then every couple of days, and then once a week. And by the end of the month, I have suffocated those bubbies out, and I haven't used ivermectin on my rabbits. So it is, it's just something that we're starting again. Also, we have a batch of babies. So Mama A had, well, there were 10 or 12 babies. I don't actually know how many babies there are now. When we came out, the nesting box was in and there was no bottom to it, which meant wind, like a cold wind was blowing up underneath, and the little babies were cold because of that. And that's not happening with rabbit B, because I made sure there was a base in her box, because that's how we lose the rabbits to the cold. Is they're used to being born underground where they stay warm, right? So I did something I wouldn't usually do. I took the nesting box out of there, up into the house, put a heat lamp on it, put the 3 that were super cold but still alive closer to the heat lamp, and let the other ones wiggle away. And when everybody was warm again, which only took about 10-15 minutes, I covered them back up with the rabbit fur, put some more straw in there, put them back down in the rabbit hutch. And I was like, whoever lives, lives. Like, at this point, if they die of hypothermia, it's not because of the wind. It's if they didn't get enough nutrition from their mom, right? And 12 bunnies is a lot for a bunny to keep alive. Well, 3 of those were already dead. So in theory, there are 9 down there. I went down the next day to check and see if they'd made it overnight, and put my finger in the box and felt around for cold ones. Didn't feel any cold bodies. Everybody felt warm, and I didn't want to disturb the nesting material too much. So those were all good to go. And I'm pretty sure that 1 or 2 more will have died. I don't know for sure, but usually we lose a few rabbits who are just weaker, and I let that happen. So I'm going to be down there. I think, like, looking at the weather, it's not super warm, and so I don't want to mess with their nest too much. The mom will also eat the dead ones to get them out of the way. So it just sort of depends. But I'll be checking them when I feel like it's warm out enough for me to mess around in the nest. And then rabbit B is due officially on Sunday. What I've noticed is the day that they close the deal is usually about 2 days before the actual baby bunnies come on the official bunny schedule, which is fine. So she's got her nesting box in. It's got a proper base. It's got a bunch of hay in there for her to use for nesting materials, and they will rip out their own fur as well to keep the bunnies warm. So we'll see how she does. I don't know for sure she's pregnant because I haven't been like feeling around on her, but I know that it's time. And I know that the bunny that she went to visit is a successful impregnator. So that should be cool. So we're doing well with rabbits. The batch that was born in December isn't quite ready to process. I have only 2 survive from that batch. And that was because nesting boxes with no base allow wind to come up. Okay. So I'm confident it's because of chill and cold. So we kept those 2 alive through the deep freeze a week after they were born, and they're doing great. One is a girl, one is a boy. I'm deciding if I'm keeping the female to be a mama rabbit. We will see. The boy, of course, he's going to go to the dogs or to us when we process them. So processing will happen probably in another 3 months on those. We'll see. I mean, they're actually, when I look at how big they are, they're big enough to process, but they're on the small side. So I'm just sort of letting that go. Went down to the coop this week, and one of the Muscovy ducks is setting her eggs. I did a TikTok about it, put just sort of a TikTok of checking her out. There are about 12 eggs under that duck right now. And I've been keeping an eye on it to see if the ducks, like, sometimes the ducks will like keep trying to get eggs under the setting duck. And that hasn't happened. So it's looking good. So I marked it on the calendar when she started. And then approximately 4 weeks later, we may end up with ducklings. About a week before they're due, I'm going to try to section off her area so she's not bugged by other ducks, make sure she has food and water there. Like right now, what she does is she sets on her eggs. Every so often she pops up when she thinks it's warm enough, takes a quick swim, gets water, gets food, goes back to the nest. That's how broody ducks operate. Her sister duck helps set the eggs, and there is actually one of my khaki Campbells super interested in the nest who's willing to help out. So this is something you may not realize, but poultry will sort of co-set eggs. So I'll take care of the eggs while you go get your food and water, right? And I'm excited about that. We'll see how fertile they are. I have 1 drake to 6 khaki Campbell ducks, which is not the best ratio. And then I have a drake and 2 Muscovy ducks. I don't even know if the Muscovies have been laying, so it may be all khaki Campbell eggs. We will see. Doesn't matter to me. I just want the ducks to be raised. Now, I did get Muscovies because the males make pretty good food, and we do have an extra male right now. So if we get Muscovies, the intention is that they're better at raising ducklings than the khaki Campbells, A, and B, the drake meat, just they put on more meat. Because right now you can totally eat a khaki Campbell, but he's going to be stew because it's like hardly anything there. It's like tiny little duck breasts, and that's it. So that's sort of exciting. I'm really hoping not to have to incubate any eggs this year. I've already gotten rid of the incubator, so if I did, I'll have to borrow it back or borrow one from somebody else. And my goal is to get a situation where the Muscovies are raising ducklings. I am going to set things up so that I can just basically cordon off the new ducklings, keep them with their mother, and hopefully keep predators away. Because what we run into with ducklings is that because of how we manage the ducks here, they get picked off by cats and foxes and other things that aren't usually bothering our poultry. So we need them to get to about 6-ish weeks old before they're really like heading down to the creek with everybody else. And last time, because of my cat who retired and stopped killing rats, the rats got them. So now I think we're pretty much through the rat situation. I don't know for sure. I'll check with Tactical, but through exclusion, and then we've pulled most of everything out of the workshop and found any nest we could and eradicated it. Like his dog thinks it's the best thing when we open up a rat's nest. She just like grabs them and kills them all. So we're really in the home stretch on that one. So hopefully we won't have rats getting the ducklings, because they will try to get the ducklings. We know we don't have them getting the eggs because I'm getting eggs. So I think part of my egg problem was that rats were getting eggs, but now we have plenty of eggs. Baby, aka Cloudy, the lamb that was born in January, is healthy and happy and not super friendly yet. I've spent not enough time in the pasture with her. Yesterday I tried to go up, get her to eat out of my hand, which she's done before, but we also let the goats intermingle with the sheep to see how they do. Clover, my goat, was pretty interested in picking a fight with everybody and showing her dominance, so I put them back away because I didn't want the baby to get hurt by the goat. And I don't need a big old first aid problem right now, so I'm thinking we're not going to end up putting the goats with the sheep. I think the goats are just going to age out. But she's healthy, and we are working now on reuniting the girl sheep with the boy sheep for obvious reasons, because it's that time of year. Spring is in the air, and we would like some more births. And this will mean that I have a birth when it's cold if they get pregnant now, but that's okay. I'm just going to let nature take its course. And we are waiting to reunite them till after Self-Reliance Festival, so that we don't have, because we can just keep an eye on it closer. But I'll be gone for a few days. I'll be gone for like 5 days. Tactical will be gone for 2 days. And we have people helping us with the livestock hauler neighbors and some friends coming by and all of that. But it just didn't want to risk weird things that happen when the flock gets together and one of them's a lot shorter than everybody else and can get under the fence in theory. And the dogs haven't seen baby yet. So want to be around for that. So they'll be going back in about 2 weeks, right after Self-Reliance Festival, when we also get all of the baby chicks are coming in that week too. Speaking of the livestock guardian dogs, they're staying in the fence even when it is off. And the reason we know this is we got straight line winds here and they were way up on the hill for that. So down at the Holler Homestead, we, like I'm still finding pieces of roofing from the extra roofing material pile around the yard. And, tactical will move on or I'll move on, whatever. But it wasn't that windy here. I mean, it was windy, but it wasn't like, is my house going to blow away? Or my windows going to shatter? And we had people like have trees projectiled through their homes and cars as part of this storm. Well, up on the hill, it was a little bit windier and trees got blown over on the electric fencing, shoving it into the ground, right? So those were completely grounding out the fence, meaning the fence wasn't working. And as a result, the fence turned off and the dogs stayed in. So that's a good sign that the dogs understand where they need to be. I suspect that the minute we go out of town, those little guys are going to figure out a way to get out, though. So that is what they do. All right, 30-day reviews is hitting it. So hit that like, y'all. 30 days reviews always comes to remind people to hit the like on the video. But he's heading out for the day, hopefully to his new job. That's super exciting. Next section is grow. This is where we talk about the gardens, right? So this section came out for the winter and I started talking about harvest eating. I'll probably talk about harvest eating some more. I'll talk about it later. Remind me to tell you guys about harvest eating. I made a really good dish yesterday. And I don't have a kitchen right now. Let me just show you my kitchen. Right. Oh, now I'll show you later. Okay. Focus, Nicole. Grow. This is where we talk about what we're growing on the homestead. I have 3 attempts at broccoli. I direct seeded in my garden. Some of those are up. I started them in pots. Those are up. I saw broccoli starts at the store, bought a 6-pack. Those are in the yard. So we'll see. We'll see how we do. Typically in the fall, I don't get broccoli. Last year, I got cauliflower, amazingly. And my theory is I need to be starting the brassicas a lot sooner than I do. So that's happening. The peas are up. They're about 2 inches long now. I had okay germination. So I plant my peas way too close together on purpose. And what I have in my row is like they're up, but there are sections of like 8 inches where none came up for whatever reason, even though I planted them every 2 inches. So I don't know if I'll go back and put more peas in. I might. It's a little late to put peas in now in Tennessee. Spring greens are happening. So we have lettuce. We have Swiss chard. I have radishes up, but not radishing yet. They take about 30 days. I'm going to put some more radish seed out. I'll just like sprinkle it out this week. And if they turn into radishes, great. And if they don't, whatever. The carrots are non-existent. What happened is the straight line winds came and the carrots were germinated and it blew wood chips on them and it suffocated them. So I don't expect to get carrots this year. And I'm not that concerned about it. It's not like the thing I want to concentrate on growing. So it was sort of I have this packet of seeds. I'll plant these seeds. I'll try them again in the fall. Part of my issue in the garden has been that I used pine shavings up there to mulch last year, and they have not broken down all the way yet. And so they blow around. And my challenge is finding material to mulch with that is broken down enough to make good mulch and keep things moist without it being cedar chips or pine shavings. And what I used to do was get wood chips from the chipper, from the people trimming the trees for the electric lines. And those people have not been through since 2019. It's 2023. I have a solution to it that'll be in place by next year. But this year I have to decide if I'm willing to risk using the really old hay from next door in the barn that's like a decade and a half old. I'm not worried about chemicals, guys. It's the grass seed I don't want. So I may get some of that here and use it because it will make a better mulch than any of these other like off the shelf options I've found. And then the compost I've made isn't going to work for that either. So what that has led to is challenges with keeping the soil happy here. Because in Tennessee, you really want to mulch. You really, really, really want to mulch. I use the leaf mulch on the food forest, and that has pretty much broken down now too. So that's getting commercial wood chips because I'm not trying to get little delicate seeds to grow in my food forest right now. I'm not trying to get clover to come up or try to get wildflowers, right? It's a bunch of bulbs and plants that I have transplanted. I have one problem area where the vine that takes over all the things on my property is trying to come up. And what that means is that I'm going to go out there and I'm going to pull like little vine starts out, and then I'm going to put a bunch of cedar chips on that around the plants that are there. And I'm okay with that. I'm trying to retard the growth of the natural seed bank in that 10-foot long area of my micro swale, because I mean, that vine's okay, but it'll take over everything. It's a terrible, terrible vine. It's tasty to goats though. So make good goat food. Good goat food. I caught up on starting my seedlings. I've got another round to start this weekend. We are also rhinocerosing forward on my kitchen, sort of. I'll talk about that schedule a little bit later. And that is going well. So at this point, all I have are tomatoes to do. The tomatoes I grow mostly hydroponically. I'll start at like 6 in pots for the upper garden. And the rest are hydroponic, and they grow like, it's about 4 weeks from me putting them in the pots to me being able to transplant them. So for me, like the learning curve on the hydroponics is I had to like change when I start things. I used to start mid-February with tomatoes, but not anymore. And I have not planted my potatoes, which again, that's not like a huge crop for me because we don't eat a lot of potatoes here, but I will get them in the ground. I know where they're going to go. Hopefully I'll get it before the rain comes on Sunday. The onions are in though. We eat a lot of onions. I had 160 onion bulbs. About 15 of them didn't fit where I wanted. And so Tactical was supposed to take those and put those in one of his raised beds, which he did not. They're still sitting outside. So those may be lost forever. I told him this year, when it's like, here, do you want to plant this? And he says, yes. And then it doesn't get planted for like a week or two. You know what's going to happen? Nicole's throwing that stuff away because I end up with like this plant graveyard at my house on the stuff that I just have too much of to plant. And, you know, some of them are seedlings I started, whatever. I don't want a plant graveyard this year. It just looks messy. And it, you know, guerrilla planting them hasn't worked for me in the past because by the time the sun stops, the sun comes, the sun comes and the rain stops, I don't, you know, like they just die anyway. So the garlic is looking fab right now. So we're going to have a good garlic crop. I always have a good garlic crop though. That's something I have, you know, the thing about homesteading is you work really hard and you try a lot of different things. And the homesteader mindset is it's like the difference between, do I work for my home or does my home work for me? And you get your home working for you. You're really excited. You try all these new things. Some things fail. At this time of year, we all make these lists of what we want to do. It becomes overwhelming. And you may even become depressed when you're not keeping up with your list, which is something I want to talk about today. And then by the end of the year, you're like, this is what I actually did. So this year I have the master list. I'm going to talk in the fall about what I really did because my hopes and dreams are different than what I'm really going to get done. And the thing I've learned, because I started feeling inadequate, behind, stressed out, and depressed this week. I did. And I didn't know it was happening. I just knew I was having trouble feeling motivated to start stuff. And anybody who knows me well knows I'm really good at starting stuff. Finishing's a different thing, but I'm very good at starting stuff. And so I was alone one evening and awake. And I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I not starting all these things that are, it's like 10 minutes of my time to start. I was like, Nicole, you're depressed. Uh-oh. And I realized what was going on is it doesn't really matter why I was depressed, right? It matters that I was depressed. And I was like, okay, well, now that you realize this, what can you do to change it? And I was like, well, tomorrow when I get up, this is what I'm going to do. And nothing is going to stop me. Okay. This was actually right after my horrible no good day that I got up and 3 things went wrong. And I think it was Wednesday that happened. It might've been Tuesday. I don't remember. And then it was like 10 o'clock and my three things were not going to happen. And all three of them had like roadblock, roadblock, roadblock. And I sat there and I'm like, well, screw today, like bad attitude. And then I was like, wait a minute. All right, it's 10 o'clock. There's a lot of day left to do a lot of things. And you can even have good experiences today. And I was like, okay, throwing that my three things list away. What are my new three things today? And I figured out what I could spend time on and what was the next like highest and best use of my time for the day. Made that list. And that was the day I started realizing I was having a motivation problem because I made myself go through that list. I made myself tell myself that I'm good at what I do and that we are making the right progress and all of that. Because the narrative, the voice in my head was not saying the right words. It was saying the you're going to fail words. So I did that all day long. And I ended up, by the end of the day, I was exhausted by 7:30, which is earlier than usual. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to bed early. I'm going to read a fiction novel. I'm going to sleep. And that's when I realized I was depressed. I was like, I'm tired at 7:30 and it's not like I didn't sleep well the night before, right? It's not like I was hanging off the roof on a ladder, like lifting heavy things. It was just like, eh. And I thought about it and I was like, okay, tomorrow, this is what I'm going to do in the morning. And I included things like making sure that I will take care of myself because I have been putting on hold some things like I don't have a kitchen to cook in, and one of my big like end of day, like you know how I used to have a glass of wine at the end of the day or a cocktail and that was like celebrate the day. Well, I stopped that because I thought that habit was bad. So I still drink alcohol, but I don't use it in that way because I felt like I was using it as a crutch in that way. So now I have replaced that with I spend a half hour or an hour just cooking good food, making sure things are organized in the kitchen, like that sort of thing. And when I don't get that time, I feel very discombobulated. Well, enter this situation. I am going to show you something. Let me get it up here. Wow, this is really hard to find. This is my kitchen right now. So you can imagine I'm not getting a lot of relaxation or resets or perspective by spending a lovely hour in my kitchen right now because my kitchen's on the floor. And it started as a relatively simple construction thing. And I knew going in there was a good risk that something like this was going to happen. So I'm not bummed out about the situation. I am excited that I'm going to have a much better cooking situation when this is done. But I had not been taking proper care of myself in the reset department as a result of this situation. In fact, I don't even want to be in my living room because I can just see that from the living room, right? So it's no wonder that I was feeling a little weird. And so I was like, okay, well, in order for that to be back to a place or a source of energy for me, since it is not in my budget to hire contractors to come out at $1,000 a day to get it all done in the next however many days. And the labor we have is Tactical and Nicole and my neighbors who have helped me. And occasionally I'm hiring in some help from the network. I have to make sure that I build in time on that every single day while also getting my responsibilities done. And so what I did before I went to bed is I was like, between the hours of 10 and 12, because I had a morning live stream. So this was Tuesday. Between the hours of 10 and 12, I'm working on that. Oh, no, it was Wednesday. I'm working on that. And between the hours of 7 and 10, I'm doing marketing for the podcast notes, roasting coffee, marketing for the coffee business, marketing for Self-Reliance Festival, coordination for Self-Reliance Festival, I have this block of time, and I will take half an hour for coffee in that block of time to just beep, and then I'm going to do it. And when the timer goes off, whatever's not done, I forget about. I go into the kitchen for 2 hours, then it's noon. I make breakfast, lunch, and that was just stew. And I make sure that dinner is queued up, because the other thing that's been happening is I've been eating any takeout I can get my hands on close by, because I don't have a kitchen to cook in. But you know what I do have is a Blackstone outside and a crock pot that can plug in outside. And I had venison hunks that Mom had made, and they were defrosted. So I ground those, put them into the crock pot with an onion and a jar of tomatoes. And then at the end, I added a Thai yellow curry and some coconut milk. And I took my freeze-dried broccoli and I put that in the crock pot. And it was delicious. It was just like a bowl of curried goodness last night. So I'm feeling a lot better after just identifying like 2 things I could take control of, because I was feeling very out of control. One was scheduling that 2 hours in the kitchen. And if I get more time on the kitchen project, great, but minimum 2 hours every day. And then making sure there was a plan for something that is from the homestead that I'm used to eating, rather than getting Mexican food or Chinese food or whatever else I could do takeout wise, which is totally off what I usually eat. And it makes me feel a little if I do that all the time. So I share this because what might be happening on your homestead is that you haven't started all the seedlings you meant to. You have goats being born that you weren't expecting, Leos. You have animals getting sick. You have discovered that your barn needs new roofing because straight line winds came through and you need a new roof, and it's raining in the barn. And it gets very overwhelming, and then you shut down. And when you shut down and do nothing, you get stuck in that situation. So when you're feeling that, I think it's important first to accept that we all have that happen, right? And so you shouldn't be like, I shouldn't feel this way, denial. It's like, okay, I feel like crap. I feel overwhelmed. I feel depressed. I feel defeated, whatever it is. Accept that you feel that. Process that however you need to. And then just choose one thing off that list of things and see if you can build it in a way that is a little bit more balanced. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know what you're facing mentally, but I do know that every time I get to this spot and I'm like literally defeated and don't know what to do, when I do take control of something, other positive things happen. It has ancillary positive benefits, and my own attitude gets better. So that's why I had depression and overwhelm on the homestead on our list today. By the way, I did buy 15 rosemary plants from the store and put them in the food forest, because we put 20 out last year, 24, and they all died because it got down to 0 degrees on December 25th. And the first year of rosemary for that, there was nothing I was going to do to save those plants. So, I mean, I guess I could have dug them up and brought them inside. They probably still would have died from the shock, though. So, the oregano and thyme, though, that overwintered just fine. So, I have oregano turning into ground cover, which is what I want instead of that vine. A nice edible herbal ground cover. Yeah. So, that is what is up. Grow. Next up, we have Holler Neighbors and Community. This is where we talk about just what's up in the community. This weekend, the kitchen remodel went from we're redoing the joists in the floor in the kitchen to we're redoing the joists in the floor in the kitchen and the laundry room to we're redoing the joists in the kitchen and the laundry room, and we're taking out the little bathroom back there and redoing those joists too. The little bathroom I just remodeled 3 years ago. To we're taking out the joists and redoing them and all of that. Plus, we're taking my exterior wall out and reframing it with 2x4s instead of 2x3s. And when we realized that, that final piece, the Eversoles were over here, hearing this happen with the electrician. And I was getting ready to go sing a concert with my choir, which meant I was zero help because A, I shouldn't be breathing all that dust right before I try to sing classically. And B, I had dress rehearsal for most of one day, and the concert took up at least half of the other day. And what they did on Sunday is came over with boxes because I was out of boxes I could use. And we had to take the top cabinets down. I had not packed the stuff in the top cabinets. So they took stuff out of the top cabinets, packed that in boxes, put it under Taj Mahal, and they helped do demolition. So they pulled most of the mudroom stuff out. And as a result, I am way further along. So I showed you that nightmare picture of my kitchen. Worse would be if those cabinets were still on the wall and we weren't taking out the 2x3s to get ready to put 2x4s in. And thanks to all the Holler neighbors, Nighthawk, well, Jenny wasn't here because she's in Oklahoma, but Nighthawk and the Eversols and Tactical spent a good amount of time on Sunday not only doing that, but my living room has been like hoarder living room where you have paths to get through places. I couldn't have a fire in the wood stove because boxes were too close. They also reduced the amount of stuff that was stored in the living room and made it so that I can actually sit in there and have a fire without having a fire hazard. So I came back from my concert Sunday to a semi-functional living room and mostly ready for Ken to come in and do the joists in the laundry room, which was super, super cool. And so that's the first thing. Of course, we had the electrician come by, which is why we decided to take the 2x3 exterior walls out and put 2x4s in. And I see somebody in the comments that says, wait, 2x3s? Here's the deal. The Holler Homestead is a lot of non-standard building choices. It was built by a person who did what he could do. And his goal was to keep this house as low to the ground and halfway underground and as insulated as possible because he was trying to be efficient with power. And it's a cinder block house. So cinder block exterior with some stone that's behind. You can kind of see it back there, up there. This wall is 12 inches thick and south facing. So you got the passive solar heat. The cinder blocks are filled with sand to add mass for passive solar heat. And then inside that, I don't know if he was saving on materials or space, but he used 2x3s on all exterior walls instead of 2x4s. And because of that, when we have an electric box, it has to be shallower to accommodate the wiring. And as Matt, the electrician, came in to rewire it, and I'm like, I basically want 320 amp breakers on this one stretch of counter so that I can plug all the things in for events and not have to worry about it. He was like, well, this is how we can do that and blah, blah, blah. He's like, honestly, it'd be better if you had 2x4s so that I can actually properly run the wiring. And Tactical was sure I wasn't going to go for that. And I'm like, listen, my whole house is ripped up at this point. Reframing this wall with 2x4s represents $200 of materials, probably. It might be $3. And here I am. And I might as well just do 2x4s. And half of those 2x3s from about my waist down are rotten or have termite damage from a former termite infestation before I lived here. So they like literally crumble out. I was like, this is dumb. And me resisting having those upper cabinets come down, whatever. So that's what happened when the electrician came by. But the cool thing is, for the spring workshop at the end of April, hopefully we'll have a kitchen. But if we do have a kitchen, it will have 3 breakers. It'll actually have 4 breakers, 4 circuits. It'll have 3 along that counter and a different one in the bar in the center of the room that's being built, which makes it so when they plug in, what happens at my workshop now is we have these big roaster ovens for heating stuff because we do like big chilies and stuff. And in that way, we are able to heat enough food and serve enough food that is delicious, by the way, for the folks who attend it. And there's always this like, wait, where do I run the extension cord from to be on a different breaker to make this happen? Like that conversation happens every year. I have 2 breakers over by the outdoor shower, one for each coffee maker because I have these big coffee urns, and that works. That was great. That was a great improvement last year. And now they're going to have a kitchen where they can just be like roasting oven, and whatever else, the rotisserie, all running on different breakers, nothing blowing my electric bill going, blah, 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 blah. But that's okay. The other cool thing from the network is this Self-Reliance Festival, we may not have our usual event manager. And our plan this time was to have 2 event managers, one that does more morning, one that does afternoon, and somebody from our network who's very capable volunteered to help with that. And then some things went wrong in the personal life of the event manager, which may or may not allow her to come. So I was hoping to have this event with her and the other person, and then hopefully the other person likes event management. We talk about what that looks like in October, because we want to transition anyway to somebody who runs the event who is not me and not Mama Sauce. So now we're not sure if Mama Sauce will be there. We won't know until right before the event. And the cool thing about our network is everybody else who's in a position of leadership in the event has really been very gracious with their time and stepped up to be like, okay, this is how we're going to make this event run. And that, had this happened 2 years ago, would have been a very different scenario. It would have been like me doing it all. But I think because Self-Reliance Festival has gone on for, like, this is our 5th one, that we have enough people who've been there and know what happens, A, and B, it has developed this camaraderie and this sort of family reunion sort of feeling for some of us, and they're able to pitch in. So that's been really cool from the community as well. And that's, if you're hearing this and you're like, I want to be part of that community, well, go find us on social, right? We have a Facebook group that's not super active, but if you join it and I let you in and you get active, other people will talk to you and then it will get active. We have a MeWe group that's very active, and we have a Telegram group. The Telegram group is t.me/LFTN group. And MeWe is just Living Free in Tennessee on MeWe.com. And then on Facebook, it's the Living Free in Tennessee coffee break group. And of course, if you are a freesteader, Living Free in Tennessee is there as well. Start talking to the people and just getting to know them. And you may find yourself in person at an event sometime in the next 2-3 years, right? But also, it's pretty cool to get to know these guys and realize there are a lot of people out there doing a lot of things. There are a lot of people out there in our community doing way more than I ever do, right? And we can learn from each other and we can help each other. And that's why I have loved watching the community grow. Next segment is infrastructure, where we talk about what's being installed on the homestead. I already went into the kitchen, so we're not going to go there. Steve Eversole got bored and decided that I needed Tajma chicken coop. We'll have to find a name for it. It's not going to be Tajma because Taj Mahal is right there, but a really nice chicken coop. And what I'm setting up is sort of a model system of how you can do the Victory Garden style chicken raising, where you have them on one side 1 year and then other side the other year. And then in the off year, you grow crops over on this side. And yeah, we are not scary. We do not bite. Can't promise that. So this is all happening. I don't even eat chicken eggs very often unless I have to. So the eggs will end up being for sale. It's a byproduct of that. And I'm raising breast chickens to see if they are as great as everybody says they are. And if they aren't, we'll do a different type of chicken long term. But he has been working his tail off on that. And he was like ready to bring it here and paint it last weekend. And he came down and looked at what was up at the kitchen. He's like, do you think next weekend would be better? I'm like, I think next weekend would be better. And now this weekend is here and it's going to rain. So I don't know if he's going to start building the chicken coop here this weekend or not. I will know right after this call. Actually, because if he's going to do it, he wanted to do it after work today. So I need to talk tactical about that. It involves cutting a fence. So I need to see if we can cut that fence today. And if not, then it's going in after Self-Reliance Festival, which is fine. But he's pre-built this thing at his place, and then he's going to take it apart again. It's like tacked together. It's not like all strongly built. Put it here and then paint the whole thing, and then the roofing arrives on the 20th. So that's happening. Yesterday, I was on with Amy Dingman for the Spicy Sisters episode. We haven't talked in a year. That will be tomorrow's podcast. But during that time, I mentioned something about homesteading that I always talk about, which is if you need to learn a new skill for homesteading, the obvious one is grow plants. But the less obvious one is, how do well systems work? How does plumbing work? Right? And I walk out and I do what happens after any live stream, right? You go straight to the bathroom and you pee because you've been holding it for the last 15 minutes, especially if you're drinking coffee during the live stream. Flush the toilet. My water acts weird. And I'm like, is there water pressure? And I turn on the sink and it's like very little water pressure. So I run down to the pump house. Sure enough, my pump is just going, about to explode. And I turn it off. And it's so hot that it melted the plastic PVC fitting that goes into it. So it's like spewing out water. And I was like, great, this is great. Tactical's at the hardware store, though. So I like hit him up on Zello and talked to him a little bit about it. I'm like, hey, check and see if they have a switch there that's a high-low switch. So if it goes below 20 PSI, it shuts everything off, which is what I had in there 2 months ago. And that switch broke after a decade or however long it's been there. So the only switch we could get on the Sunday that it broke was from the Lowe's store instead of from the plumbing store where I like to get stuff. And they don't have a high-low shut-off one. And I confirmed that when I asked Tactical to get one. And so it was like 3:45. My plumbing store that I love closes at 5. It's a 25-minute drive. And so Nighthawk works across the street from them. So I hit Nighthawk up. Hey, can you go to B&G before you come home? And are you going to be there before 5? No answer. I decide that means Nighthawk is working on a job and didn't hear his phone. And that probably means he won't be able to get to B&G by 5. So I call B&G and I'm like, do you have this switch on hand? Because it's not worth driving 25 minutes to talk to them and find out they don't have it and have to order it. Call them. Yes, they do. I said, I am on my way. So I went and got that switch, which is not installed yet. Tactical was at the hardware store. He came home and I didn't have any water because it was all off. I was like manually filling my cistern from the one that there's a problem down there. That's the source of the problem is my cistern did not refill from the spring and then it went empty. And then that resulted in my pump almost blowing up. And I was like, this is stupid for me to have gone 2 months without the proper kind of switch. I know I need the low cutoff because every time something goes wrong, I'm like super happy that my $1,000 well pump has not exploded. Right. So I go to the B&G. You guys want to take a guess how much that switch costs? Just put it in the comments. How much do you think my high-low well switch costs at B&G? Because, you know, like I get there and I'm like, hey, I'm the one who called about the high-low switch. And they're like, oh yeah, you're here like every freaking week buying something. Put your guesses in the comments, guys. I don't see them yet. And they go to the back and like they have this sort of a storefront, but they have this big back warehouse. And Pip and I says $182. And he comes back out with the switch. Carl says $20. And he puts it on the thing. Letty says $37. And then he like looks it up in the book. Jacob says $50. And he tells me the price. And the price is $45 from Hey Hey. No, $22. $22. And I look at him and I just had this look on my face and I'm shaking my head. And he was like, oh shit, is it too expensive? Right. And I was like, no, that's not why I'm shaking my head. I'm shaking my head because for 2 months, I haven't put a $22 switch in that will save me $1,000 of my pump melting down. And I think it's really stupid that just like that the other switch is the only switch you can get at Lowe's that does not have the high-low shut off. Because why wouldn't you put that $22 switch on your system to save yourself thousands of dollars of future damage every time you blow out a pump? because things went, the water went low. And he's like, well, that low shutoff's really annoying. And I'm like, no, it's not. Every time I go down the hill to hold the little lever up because something went wrong and it shut off, I'll tell you how many times I have had the shutoff happen because while the water was still high in the tank. 0 in 15 years. 0. And if it happened 5 times in 15 years, that's fine. I'm still happy it shut off because I would rather have it shut off than lose the pump. My neighbor next door had that happen with his pump and had to spend $1,500 for that pump. My pump I paid $500 for when I bought it. It's about $800 now. And I have another pump to switch out for when this one goes back. Yeah. Also, the switch without the low shutoff was $70 from Lowe's, according to Tactical. By the way, thank you so much for the super sticker from It Isn't What It Isn't. Appreciate that. So yeah, when I say learn about well systems, that's what I mean. And if you have a resource like B&G Plumbing in Smithville, Tennessee, use them. Those guys have helped me learn this every step of the way. They helped me learn how to install my own tub because getting a plumber out here is really hard and super expensive. And they know what they're doing. And that's why I usually get my plumbing stuff from them. Like literally the only reason that switch from Lowe's came from Lowe's was that it was a Sunday and B&G was closed and I had no water. Now I have that as my backup switch for when this one breaks, because this one will break. And I'll probably buy another stupid $20 switch. I should have just bought 2 yesterday. Anyway, the rewiring for the solar is underway. In fact, right before this podcast, I went outside and Tactical was digging a hole, which tells me he's getting the rewiring ready. We need to put a sub panel in. He had to gut the utility closet and get that all redone so that Matt, the electrician, can come out and work on the wiring. And here's the thing, guys. I do know a lot of things about how to do wiring and can do it myself. We have in the LFTN network several really good electricians, one of whom is Matt in Sparta. Miles, you're on my list. He's another one. He's out near Knoxville. So when I can have the real professional guy in to do it, he does better work than I do. He knows more than I do, and it's worth every penny. Every penny. So I'm really thankful he has come out for this. Both of those guys have done a bunch of free wiring here at events, but I'm not I don't mind paying them too, because it keeps the money in the network. The Holler Roast building was taken off my house electricity and put on its own service. Matt did that, and when the inspector came out, it's like, oh, it's you, right? That alone is helpful, but he's also very good at what he does and very good at troubleshooting what's going on, because in my house, let's just say there's some non-standard wiring here. Non-standard wiring. Okay, last segment before we bring Holler neighbors on for the Q&A section. So if you have a question, I've starred questions I've seen as they come. Put the first couple of words in all caps, and then I will handle them in the Q&A section of the store after we close the Homestead podcast. Finances, how things are going financially on the homestead. I'm spending a lot on building materials, but that is with intention, and it's going to make a house that has not been terribly functional for me for 15 years be more functional. If you think about how much cooking I do and the cooking channel I am in the process of starting, and the webinars I do on how to make cheese and how to do canning and all of that stuff, imagine what that's going to be like when I can just set up in my kitchen without moving the entire living room around, which is what I've had to do so far. It's going to be awesome. So well worth the investment. John Witherspoon, I saw your question about the lamb. Yes, I got your note. That means that I have half a lamb left for sale. John has bought a quarter of the lamb. Somebody else bought a quarter of the lamb. And I have a half lamb left for sale. If anybody's interested, just reach out to me, Nicole@livingfreeintennessee.com. And that's just because we had one that I was going to sell for breeding, but it just didn't work out. And so he became, because he was under a year old, he became lamb for sale, basically. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed today's show. If you did and you want to support the show, you can do it in a couple ways. One, get your coffee at hollerroast.com. Two, consider becoming a member. Head over to livingfreeintennessee.com to find out more about membership. With that, guys, go out Make it a great week. I find it really amusing that Tactical is not on the live stream, but Steve Eversole is. Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you doing?
I'm doing. Wow, you're very boomy today. You're very boomy.
Really?
Yeah, that's in a good way. Your audio sounds
Okay.
great.
Okay, good deal.
Do you sing bass in choir?
Not anymore.
Did you
Um,
used to?
no, no,
Not anymore. Not anymore. Not ever. Okay, first
never.
question I have here from the questions is the mustard what's taking over pastures? No. I mean, some pastures do have wild mustard blooming in them, but it's another, I can't remember what it is that comes up in like cow pastures at this time of year. It's yellow and it's not something they eat. So farmers hate it. But it's beautiful. It's a wildflower. And I can't remember what it is. So just admit when I don't know. So what's new over at base camp, Steve?
Not too much. Just we got the coop almost done. I spent not this past weekend, but the weekend before, and I did the majority of it, and then a couple nights last week working on it, and a couple nights this week, and just little tiny, little couple little pieces left to do before I disassemble it to get ready to bring it on over and reassemble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still haven't talked to Tactical about if we're cutting the fence today, but I will right after
Okay.
this.
Okay.
That's
Awesome.
inquiring minds want to know. I just
Right.
telegram Tactical in case he missed that I sent him the link like 2 hours ago. A. Ray Pierce says, my kitchen's not functional at all. It's driving me crazy. I've been in this house for a few months. I hate dysfunctional kitchens. Link bad. There is a reason that Tactical did not hop on. So we're going to try Link again. He got the infamous 404 error.
Oh boy.
I don't know. Oh, because I pasted the link twice. That's why. Yeah, so I'm excited to see that that whole thing happen. That coop.
Oh yeah, me too.
So look, we can now
Hey
see up
there.
Tactical's nose. He doesn't care.
Yeah, the link you sent me gave me a StreamYard 404 error.
That's because it was pasted in twice. I didn't. Apparently, I stuttered when I hit Control V. It was like Control VV. So that is. So how's your week going, Tactical? What have you been working on this week?
Trying not to work on your kitchen.
Why?
Because apparently I did that for like 7 days straight.
He did. There was this illusion we were going to get it back together. My goal is to have counters in the sink by the end of the weekend.
Yeah, we literally hit the point, I think it was Tuesday. Nicole said something to me, and I was like, I don't even know what day of the week it is.
It was Monday.
There you go. And I was like, I don't even know how long I've been working on this project. And she did quick math in her head and was like, 7 days. I'm like, that's why I can't think straight right now.
Yeah. So he took 2 days off the kitchen. That does not mean 2 days off necessarily. Tactical doesn't actually take days off, but he did other things and then came back to it. Took Tuesday, Wednesday off, came back to it yesterday, helped me take the cabinets down. And now my 2-hour segment today is pulling all those studs off the wall, hopefully, and then getting cleanup done so that we can reframe it. I actually realized, Tactical, we need to go pick up drywall.
Today?
When it's not raining.
Okay.
Steve, can I borrow your trailer?
Hey, absolutely, yeah. And
cool.
also,
I think they'll lay flat on your trailer.
Yep. But also, we could, if you could pick up like 8 2x4s, just regular studs. Yeah.
Pressure treated or not pressure treated?
Not pressure treated.
For the coop?
For the roosting bars. That whole roosting bar contraption that's going to be lifting, up. Yeah, I forgot to put those in. Or I forgot to, think about those add those to the shopping list.
Okay. Jenny Joy says, can you use tea tree on rabbits? The answer, Jenny, is I don't know, but I don't see why not. I could put it in with the oil. I wouldn't want to go super concentrated tea tree oil on anything, but yeah. Faith wants to know, is there chip drop in your area or is it risky for some reason? I've never had success being listed on chip drop getting chips. What works for me is when the electric crew is out cutting the branches, I drive out with my car and I say, hey, when that truck is full, can you dump it over at my place? Here's my address. Here's my phone number. I've tried to give them money and beer and they won't take either of those two things. But they will, like, I've made it so they can dump a lot of chips in a flat area so they don't have to come up in my terrible driveway. And I've had them dump as many as 6 loads of chips when they do that.
I have also had a lot of luck.
I've literally had them at the end of the road and was like, y'all can dump that right over here and you don't even have to get off the road. There's a flat spot where you just park the truck cockeyed in the road. You can just dump it. I don't know where they went. They didn't come here.
Yeah, I didn't have any luck on chip drop either when I was in Florida. But what I did do is contact some people on Craigslist, people who were advertising, services for tree trimming and stuff. I contacted several of those people, the little mom and pop shops, and I had more chips that I could possibly want. They were all dropping them off at the house.
Yeah.
So another good idea.
Maybe you just need a girl to talk to him, Tactical. Maybe it's a gender thing. Nicole, did you get my email about the sheep meat? Yes, I did. I'm going to meet you probably in Dixon on my way to SRF, John. We'll talk about that. But yeah, he's going to have delicious lamb from the Holler Homestead.
Cool.
Steve, are the plans for the coop going to be for sale?
No, but I did take a few videos, as I've been going along, and I'll do another video of the walkthrough, and I'll be glad to share everything and anything I know. Yeah, I'm not interested in making money off of it.
Did you draw up the plans?
No.
No?
All in my head, yeah.
But you sketched it out, as I recall, digitally.
Yeah, well, right, correct. Just, where everything's going to go. But
so,
yeah,
measurements, we could probably make a PDF of that and say this is what he started with.
Yeah, and I can probably make up a cut list, for each wall, that sort of thing.
Yeah, if you want to, we'll get it out to folks. Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you want to donate to his Lightning wallet, guys, because he put that work in, I'm sure he won't complain.
I was gonna say that if somebody started dropping him donations, he might be a little more incentivized to go on and type everything up.
Yeah. Steve hates money. Steve hates money. Would love to see those videos. Yeah, we should make some videos for that.
Cool.
That makes more sense, Miss Ferdina. She said, I had one delivery from Chip Drop and it was an oops. They had they were delivering to a person near her and that person said no. So she was next closest. Oh. Her first one had a typo in it and I was like, I don't understand. Now I see why. Okay, we already have that one. A. Ray Pierce says, thinking about adding meat rabbits, what breeds would you all suggest and have dealt with?
Mutts.
Yeah. So we have had the Australian, New Zealand Giants. We have had some California one. I don't know. We've had some actual breeds of them, and we still have some of those left. The two boys are something. One of them's the New Zealand Giant, and the other one is, I can't remember the California town that it's named after. And the does are mutts, and they're doing better than my actual breeds we're doing from a birthing and taking care of the baby standpoint. My goal moving forward on the meat rabbits. So I was talking about this last night on the Self-Reliance Festival live stream at 7. I free fed. Well, I didn't. We free fed the rabbits and they got fat. And fat rabbits cannot reproduce because they cannot physically contort in such a way that they need to contort to get the job done. Leave that description that way. And so we had problems with anybody getting pregnant and having babies. And so we had a few babies early on and then none. Now that we've realized that it's not a problem, everybody is doing what they need to do. We did get rid of the original 2 fat does, and they were delicious. And then we got new ones in who are doing great. And my thought from here is that because the 2 boys have been the fathers of the rabbits, if I want to keep any of the females, I need fresh blood from the boys. So right now I'm just like, I know that the gray one is the father of that black female, and so she can only hang out with the white rabbit. But at some point that's going to get complicated to deal with. So we'll be thinking about that, moving forward. And Nighthawk has rabbits too. So we can take our females to visit his males, and he can take his females to visit our males. But keeping that diversity in there is pretty cool. Rex mix. Okay, I've had Rexes before as pets, but what I do know is this, when I've talked to people, is the giant breeds, the bones get really big, but it's not exactly, it's not a lot more meat. And so they've found smaller rabbits are better from a meat standpoint because then you don't feed them as much for the growth that you're getting from the giant breeds. That's what I have. That's the feedback I've gotten from other rabbit breeders. John Willis has really robust rabbits, so sometimes he's willing to sell some of his. You just got to come to Self-Reliance Festival probably to see if he'll sell you some. March 25th and 26th, selfreliancefestival.com. What are you doing outside, T?
Getting a crowbar.
Oh, okay. That's it.
I also
okay.
saw the Scubbies walking, so I had to see if all 4 of them were out or just 3.
3 of them out. Are 3 of them out or 4?
3.
Okay, yeah. What that means is 1 is on the nest, and while she's on the nest, what I want to do is put a little black mark on each egg that's down there, but I don't want to do it in such a way that makes the Muscovy attack me for 2 reasons. 1, they have really sharp claws, and the other reason is that I don't want her super upset about the nest and to abandon the nest, but it would be nice to mark the eggs so we know which ones have been there the longest. So, yeah. Anything else from base camp, Steve?
No, not at all.
Okay, well, this has been one of our shorter Q&A sessions, but I'm not seeing lots of Qs. So we're going to flow into the rest of the day. I'm going to get my podcast out, and then I'm going to put my minimum of 2 hours on the kitchen. I'll probably put more in. My goal is to get the rest of this direction done. Tactical, let's meet and talk about where the drains go.
Okay.
All right, guys, we'll see you later.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Yep.